Good morning. It's about 9:30 on December 4th, 2019. I'm Todd Dunn, and today we're experiencing a power outage. So my solar battery backup power system is getting a test. Okay, it's not a real power outage. It's a simulated power outage in that I flipped off the main breaker and the system turned on. And right now all of the 10 circuits that are attached to the system are being run by the backup power system. And even though it's only 9:30 in the morning and my solar panels faced sort of west-southwest, they are getting a little indirect sunlight and putting out about 125 watts, which is accounting for about a third of our power draw right now, because the refrigerator's on, the heat is on, the freezer's running, various and sundry lights are running, the well is powered up, and everything is working pretty well. And what I'm going to do is come back periodically during this simulated power outage, which is expected to last approximately 6 hours, and see how things are going. So I'll come back in a little while and we'll have a look at the results. It's now 10:55 a.m. and the simulated power outage has been going on for just a bit over 90 minutes. When I checked a couple minutes ago, the system was drawing about 30 watts or about 1¼ amps from the battery bank. Consumption though was up around 250 watts, but the solar array was putting out about 220 watts, which was providing the bulk of our consumption. As a consequence of the low draw, my battery monitor said that we have 5 days and 20 hours before we get down to 50% on the battery bank. So right now we're doing pretty well. The solar output is just about keeping up with our draw. And I expect that by about 11:30, the output from the solar panels will be bigger than our draw, and we'll actually start charging the batteries back up. And our full draw will be coming from the solar array. At this point, I'm fairly pleased with the result, and I want to show you what the sky looks like so you can see how here in December, when the sun is very low in the sky, and it's partly overcast today, that we're still going to be drawing enough power from the solar panels to keep up with our demands, which will greatly stretch out how long we can go on our battery backup system. So let's take a look at the sky. Okay, I've pointed the camera southwest now, and you can see that we've got some clouds up there and some blue sky. So right now we're getting filtered sunlight through a patch of clouds. I won't point the camera directly at the sun, so you don't need to be blinded by that. But this is what we can expect. That solar output's going to go up and down a little bit, but as the sun gets more westerly and is more directly on my west-facing solar array, we should get more power out of it. And I would expect we're probably going to peak at about 400 to 500 watts. So we will be using 250 to 300 watts of that, and 100 to 200 watts, maybe as much as 250 watts, will be going to recharge the batteries. So I would expect that by 2 o'clock or so, the batteries will be completely recharged. So that's where we are right now. The last time I looked, which was now about 6 or 7 minutes ago, we had used about 1.5% of the battery capacity. So we've got plenty of backup power available, where our current usage is coming mostly from the solar array and only about 10% from the batteries. Okay, I'll check back in a little later. It's just about 1 o'clock in the afternoon now, 3 hours and 40 minutes into this power outage. as you can see, it's no longer bright sunlight out here, so we're not getting as much solar as we were. Currently the solar output is around 120 to 130 watts, and power consumption is still averaging about maybe 200 watts, so we're consuming about 60 to 70 watts from the batteries at any given time, and that has caused the total battery draw so far to have been about 15.5 amp hours, which is about 10% of our available power. So we've gone about 3 hours and 40 minutes. At the current rate of consumption versus production from the solar panels, we could probably go about another 30 hours. I'm finding out that the battery monitor's projection of how long we have to go is not very useful because it's instantaneous. So if the freezer kicks on, for example, and starts drawing 100 watts, the projection of how long we have to go goes down dramatically, and then when the freezer kicks off, it goes back up. Or if we get a little bit more sun, the projected time remaining goes way up, and if a cloud goes in front of the sun, it goes way down. Matter of fact, not too long ago, I took a look at it and it said we had an infinite amount of time remaining, and 5 minutes later it said we had 2 days left. So that's not a very useful parameter. What's more important is the percentage of power left in the battery bank, which right now is hovering in the 95.5–96% range. So 3 hours and 40 minutes into this power outage, everything is still working. In the house, you can't really tell that the power is out. The inverter is keeping everything going. Yes, there are a few things that are not on the inverter. The stove, the washer, the dryer, and a few lighting circuits that we don't use routinely are not on the inverter, and they don't work right now. So everything is working other than that, and as long as you don't turn the stove on or try to wash clothes, you wouldn't really know that the power is out. So that's where we are, 3 hours and 40 minutes into this power outage. I'll be back probably at the end of the power outage, when the power comes back on, to summarize how well the system did. It's 3:40 now, and the power outage is over. It ended after precisely 6 hours, and at the time it ended, we had consumed 1,620 watts, and of that, 690 came from the battery bank, and 930 came from the solar panels. So even on a partly sunny day where it clouded up in the afternoon, in December in Maine, we got pretty good production from the solar panel. Our total consumption of 1,620 watts works out to about 270 watts per hour. If we'd left the system on for 24 hours, we probably would have consumed about another 4,800 watts from the batteries, which would have taken us below 50%, and I probably would have shut off. So anyway, it worked really well. You couldn't tell that we were on the inverter in the house. Everything operated absolutely normally, and I'm pretty pleased with the total power draw. 691 watts isn't much. The current battery bank is approximately 8,000 watts of total power. Of that, about 4,000 is usable. So we used about 1/7, or about 15% of our available power from the battery. So overall, I think the system worked really well. Right now, the inverter is recharging the batteries. It's been at it for 27 minutes. We're back up to 97%. And I think it's basically into the absorption phase because the current is dropping steadily. And we're putting about 628 watts back into the batteries right now. And at this rate, in another half hour, the inverter will completely recharge the batteries, which will be, nice in case there is a real power outage. We'll be back up to full charge and everything will be ready to go. So that's where we are right now. I think the simulated power outage today really gave me a lot more confidence in the system. It did show that if I let everything run, that I'm using more power than I expected. 270 watts per hour is a little higher than I'd like. That gives us less than a day with the current battery bank. When I get us up to 8 batteries, it'll be about a day at the basically do nothing, pay no attention to the power outage way of dealing with it. On the other hand, if we build a fire in the wood stove so that the heater is working very little, all it would be doing then is heating the room I'm in now, which is on the ground floor that the wood stove does not heat, and it would be providing us with hot water when we wanted it. And also, by turning the refrigerator and the freezer off at night when we don't have solar power to offset their consumption, we could greatly reduce our overnight consumption. So anyway, that's where it is. I'm pretty happy with it. And in the future, when I've had a little more experience, I will review the individual components in the system. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed seeing me suffer through a 6-hour power outage. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you'll get to find out when my next tearjerker of a video comes out. Thanks for watching.